So, Joy, we're talking about social transformation. If a church thinks that they're already at stage 1 of mission action planning, it sounds like that to move to stage 2, they need to be concerned about the issue of social transformation. Is that right?
I think so. I think one of the key things is to be listening within your context for the people who've got a real heart for the community, and to be using that period right at the beginning of a mission journey to find out what are the things that are happening in our community. So one of the things for us, we're a church on a ring road. We are able to pay our heating bill at the moment. So we thought about that in the autumn, and we thought, we wonder if people in the community would like to use the space as a place to work during the day. So we thought, well, what can we manage? We can probably manage one day a week where we can be open and we can put some snacks out and make the space available. So we tried to find out who in the community is doing this already, who in the community is interested in using this space, and we just really carefully put a toe in the water. So I think stage 1 feels to me like it's looking at the situation, looking at your community, maybe even going as far as doing an audit of your community to find out where the needs are. There's lots of listening involved at stage 1, lots of reflecting on who might be out there and what the needs are.
So that's how you would make that next step to stage 2, really, wouldn't? That's how you would move from sort of apathy and not really knowing what's happening in your community to being concerned and finding out a bit more about your local area.
Yeah, and I think what we're looking for as well is an alignment between the calling that God has put on people's hearts and lives. In every church, there are going to be people who have a passion for a specific people group or a specific issue, and we might not always know what the next steps are and what the next building blocks are to get to the place we want to be. We might not know what the different projects are that would be possible for a church to start, but it's that alignment of the need that's in the community and the passion that's in the church. That's the sweet spot, really, where incredible things can happen.
I see. So if we're thinking about moving from stage 2 to stage 3, I think people need to really be making connections with people in their local community. Would you say that's right?
That's certainly been our experience here. So one of the things that St John's has been involved in for years and years and years has been some missional connection and relationship with the community that's about half a mile away on the Wing Gardens estate. And there are lots of things that have happened and do happen there over the years. So there's been youth work, children's work. We currently run a really well-developed food bank that connects with people in all sorts of ways in that community. And one of the key things that happened to facilitate those relationships was a partnership with a local community development trust. So we are actually part funded by the council to be able to deliver some of that work. And that's required building relationship over more than a decade now, so that they really trust us to be able to fund us to deliver some of that work. But we also really trust them that we're working in collaboration together. And that has been hugely beneficial. And that won't be every church's starting point. People will do things really, really differently. But I think sometimes in the church we can be a little bit nervous about partnering with other agencies or other people who are doing community work. And our experience has been that when we go in listening, when we go in prepared to learn, when we go in not thinking that we know all the answers and we've got something amazing to give you that you've not got yet, we have been able to build really successful partnerships where we've learned loads too. So we've learned things like how to develop asset-based community development, which is where you look at what's already happening in a community and you look at the existing relationships and you work with and work alongside with the assets in the community. So that's been a really positive thing for us as a church. But looking at developing maybe smaller projects that respond to need, one of the things that's happened out of lockdown at St John's is that a group of our church members really wanted to just develop something that connected with older people. And they've gone really slowly through that process of working out what it is that our community of elderly want to be involved in. So last week they had a fish and chip lunch in church, and lots of people really appreciated that. I think it is about doing lots of careful listening, building really good relationships, either within the church or with community partners, and really understanding that the work of social transformation is something that we do with the people that we're working with, and not to the people that we're working with.
I think that's really important. It sounds like some of the opportunities to serve other people come from those connections, and so it's really important to develop those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm an ideas person and I can have 20 ideas before breakfast, but most of them won't be that good. When I go and listen to people whose lives are different from mine or whose experience are different from mine, I learn things that I hadn't thought about before. And as we walk carefully alongside others, we're able to do way more than we may have originally thought we could do when we were just looking at our own ideas.
Absolutely. So, Joy, if a church thinks, right, we're already at stage 3, we want to move to stage 4 in this section, then it looks to me like it needs to be about culture change. There needs to be a shift so that working towards social transformation is seen as normal. What do you think?
I think that's absolutely true. And I think this is one of the really big challenges for lots of our churches, because we find ourselves asking the question, what is the church for? William Temple, who was Archbishop of Canterbury back in the 1940s, 50s, he once said the church is the only institution that exists for the benefit of those outside of it. And I love that quote. And we sometimes kind of say in this church, this is for that.
Yes.
You know, what we do on a Sunday is to facilitate what happens during the rest of the week when we're not in the walls of the church. But I think that's not always a very comfortable place to be, and we really want our churches to be lovely, warm, welcoming spaces that we can enjoy and benefit and grow from. But perhaps that journey of discipleship that leads us out of the doors of our church into curiosity and imagination about what people's lives are like outside, that journey has got to change us. And when we've been changed by that journey, it really needs to change what we do when we gather back together. It needs to change how we think about what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. And so I think when we're looking at kind of moving from stage 3 to stage 4, we are looking at having those sorts of conversations when we gather for worship, when we preach, when we're planning our services, when we're looking at what we do as gathered church meeting together. We're looking at allowing the things that happen outside our doors to influence what happens when we get back together. And that really excites me. I think that's the most alive that a church can be. We've got a lovely lady who's part of this church who volunteers each week with the Archer Project since she retired. And as a result of her work with the Archer Project, that's made us as a church think, how can we learn more about engaging with homelessness? So next month we have our God, Life and Everything, and Tim, who's the CEO of the Archer Project, is going to come and talk to us. And I can't wait for that conversation. So for me, the culture change means that it's a two-way street, and we are looking to learn how we can become better disciples as a result of the social transformation we're involved in.
That's really helpful, thank you. So to summarise, it sounds like the first thing a church needs to do is develop a concern for social transformation, to find out what's going on in their local community and what people's needs are. Then they need to build connections, start building relationships with people in their local community, find out how they can be involved in existing projects, what new projects might need to be started. And then finally, it's about culture change and developing a culture, a two-way kind of system where you're listening, but you're also responding. And then your church social transformation is flourishing because of the way that you're listening to other people.
Yeah, and I think we could probably boil it down into 3 words: look, listen, love.
Amazing. Look, listen, love. Thank you so much.